Hi, my name is Kanika Sago, and I am a model, media arts, and communications professional. And with me today is Maryhope Wanjau. Maryhope is currently a student and a counseling psychologist. And today we will be discussing self-esteem and self-awareness in relationships, how it lessens and how it improves, and our identities. And what I want to know, Mary Hope, is what can you discuss about self-esteem and self-awareness in relationships and how it builds and couples and their struggles and how they manage? Can you give us a little bit of detail about that?
Okay, hello, Kanika.
Hi.
Um, Today we are talking about self-awareness, self-esteem. And first of all, by the term self-esteem, what do you understand about this? It's basically the values, the triggers, the beliefs that make a person, right? It all comes down to who you are, how do you see yourself, and all that. And yes, it builds a lot on self-esteem. Yeah. So at times we hear that a person has high self-esteem and low self-esteem. And what you have to understand by this is that for a person who has high self-esteem, this person really knows who they are, right? They know who they are. And for the one who exhibits low self-esteem, most of the time they are in doubt. They are in doubt of who they are as well. And a key tool in self-awareness is the Johari window. So it's basically a square, and it's divided into four. Yeah, we use it in psychology. Yeah, so it has open, blind, hidden, and unknown self. And for the open, it's mainly the information that I know about myself and others know about myself, right? And
Right.
then for the blind, yeah, for the blind, it's what others know about me and what I don't know about myself. And there's the hidden self, which
Mm-hmm.
is what I know about myself that others don't. And lastly, we have the unknown self. That is what I don't know about myself, what nobody knows about myself. And in this part, God only knows. Yeah.
Right.
Um,
Now, I'm
yeah.
sorry. Sorry. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
It,
Was gonna,
okay.
you think that in that assessment, which is a really good assessment for couples, do you think the person with a low self-esteem may have, they come in with old baggage? In turn, do you think that the person, if they are dating a high achiever, do you think a person with really good awareness, good prosperity, good energy, and they're like a high achiever, do you think that their partner who comes in with low self-esteem, what I'm asking is the low self-esteem, do you think it comes from maybe something based on the model that you gave me just then? Do you think that it's based on um, maybe from an old relationship? Um, when the couple gets together, do you think that the partner with the low self-esteem if they have low self-esteem, could it have come from an old relationship, or does it come from family ties? Or can you, I mean, based in just an opinion based in terms of that?
Okay. In terms of self-esteem, um, we build on self-esteem from a young age, yeah, and it's all rooted in how you get to know and understand yourself. In the model that I've just given you, the Johari window, the main thing we're going to deal with is the hidden self. So this is what you know about yourself, okay? So once you get a deeper understanding as to what are your triggers, what you don't like, what you do like, right? How you feel about others and all, it will help you maneuver through the self-esteem journey. Okay, so for a person who has low self-esteem and is in a relationship with a higher achiever, they tend to project their fears, their doubts into the relationship, and you find that this relationship tends to crumble, right? Yeah, it tends to crumble because the fact that let's say, for example, I'm feeling I feel as though I cannot do anything for myself, right? It it I get to project this feeling to the other person and to my relationship. So I'm like, I cannot do anything for this relationship. I do not contribute anything, and therefore I'm useless and all that. And what I can say about that is that it's sort of a poison. It's a poison in a relationship. Yeah. So what people have to do is they should try and build on getting to know themselves. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, basically, yeah, because one of the things that I've always understood, just even with myself, is that when you're alone and you're not with a mate, you should really see yourself as a really good person. Because I know a lot of times people who are single and they're alone, they spend time with themselves to really just maybe empower themselves. They have a natural understanding, empowerment. They have a natural way that they may understand themselves as a single person. Men do that a lot. Um, and a lot of women do that, and they do it. Maybe they have gone through a divorce, some prior relationship, and maybe even through, recovering from substance abuse problems, where they, get themselves back situated, and they're trying to maybe do better, or it may be from someone in their family close to them passing away, but they find themselves single, and they take time to uh, maybe renew themselves. They spend time with themselves. They maybe do journaling or reading, or they do fitness in terms of that. But uh, they many times they ward off certain issues. They ward off certain issues that may uh, go toward depression. And so they see themselves in the energy or spiritual essence of themselves as a great person. You should see that, just as a single person. It doesn't always have to be that you're in this great institution called marriage, you know, that and it's not until marriage you see yourself as a really good person. But when you're single, you should also see that, because you'll have other experiences with relationships where you can then again build that foundation. But as a single person, or just by ourselves alone, we should see ourselves as really a good person, cool energy, good person, because we need to take time with what we don't like, because in what we don't like as a person being by ourselves. A lot of times um, you jump into a relationship really quickly, and you don't really understand is so quick that the partner helped you see what you didn't like, you know, and it wasn't until that partner, you were with that partner or you got married to him, you didn't know what didn't, you didn't know the partner like made you understand yourself better. And we all understand that. But a lot of times we need to understand ourselves better being by ourselves before we go into a serious committed relationship. So we know, well, I don't, when before I got married, um, I was always punctual and on time. And then now that I'm married, and I was punctual and on time, and I made a lot of progress. And now that I'm married, I'm not as organized. I am very worthless in certain things, but my partner, he seems to be a really nice person. It's like a contrast, like a give and take. And so, but my partner says that it may be a better version of myself. All that punctual stuff before we got married, you weren't that good of a person. You weren't really successful, but you were successful. So it's like it can be a tug of war sometimes. Your partner, sometimes you get in partnerships and the partner really feels that they completed you as a person, was able to kind of teach you, and you weren't. So we always, as single people, and people, this has been told for years, advisement, whether it's from your grandmother or, in mentorship, that you always need to know yourself completely before you go into a serious relationship, before you have the children, even in those cases. Because we lose ourselves, we may have the tendency, and then it gets into that lessening of ourselves, the lowering of our self-esteem, just the lowering of our, what our natural, our parents may have given us, you know, our natural essences, as like that God centered essence that our parents give us before we have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or even get into, serious dating. So that's something that people need to really work on in terms of, being alone. You can be very productive being alone, and just the knowing of ourselves. So when we get in a committed relationship, we'll know we're being lessened. We may be being lessened. And how do you get out of that? Using those tools from being single, how do you improve your partner? If your partner is just going through something himself, how do you improve your partner? If there's a lessening, and a lot of times we have to tap, like I said, you have to tap into those times when you're by yourself and there are no children. You have to tap into centering yourself and centering your partner, keeping the structure of this committed relationship or the marriage together, And that's it.
Okay.
Oh,
I back whatever you've said. Yeah, that's true. Um, just I've remembered a statement. During class, a lecturer once said that currently, we the younger generation, you find that people get into relationships to get the other person to define themselves for who they are. So it's basically me getting into a relationship so that I can have my partner define me, define who I am. Yeah, and that's it's quite unsettling. It's really unsettling that you don't have the capacity of addressing yourself, of naming yourself, of giving your own thoughts and all, that you have to find somebody else to do that for you. And that it lowers self-esteem. It really lowers self-esteem.
Right. It sounds like when you're, and people have gone through this, um, it's a very difficult journey in terms of maybe be friends first. And maybe in not saying that, I'm gonna go, I really like this person and I'm gonna, like, right now jump into a committed relationship because of certain things with he completes me. Somebody else he may be dating another person, other people, and he may think, change his mind and go with the other person. Or she may change her mind and go with the other man. And, she completes, I just have to hurry up. And because I think that, in the case of a man completing the woman has to hurry up to, get herself together so that, and she feels pressured and she'll jump in instead of like, well, I think we should just take time to really be friends. Maybe it's, and it's a very hard, difficult principle to, understand for a couple, or just people meeting each other for the first time, being friends. How do you do that? A lot of times friendship in that institution of friendship, it's meddled with, it's broken these days. It's difficult. How do you just be a friend to someone? How and maybe it's just that I shouldn't take them to meet my family first, or maybe I shouldn't introduce them to my friends first. Maybe we should pace ourselves and not do that. We should just get to really know each other, and that means like maybe being a friend. How do you do that? You work together. You maybe you're not around each other that much. We only see each other once a week. We only see each other once a month. Once a month may be too spaced. It may be too broad of a time sequence. But we see each other once every couple of weeks. And then we get to know each other that way. When we saw each other, we worked on a project together. And then, I saw him and then we would just be friends that way. And then it got more serious, and we decided we had other interests. Through our speaking together every couple of weeks, our discussions got more, detailed, and maybe I mentioned him or her to a family member, and the family member said, "Well, why don't you bring your new friend over and we meet them?" And so maybe those are ways, because friendship, just building friendships before you get really serious and not really jumping right quick into a relationship is very serious, but it's so difficult these days. Just because a lot of people, they figure, what if we have children together and then there's a divorce? I mean, the children kind of help you stay grounded, and you want to stay friends because we have children together if there's a divorce. And so it's the friendship, learning to be friends with the couples who learning to be friends is very important. It's a very important first stage, because something could happen along the line, and but it's so difficult. It happened along the line, and it helped, and and the couple has to be accountable. So when I say something happens down the line, it means they had children, and the children, make having a child makes you be more accountable, in a relationship. So, a, a, parents, for some people, if they leave, they're not going to be involved in it. Some men, and a lot of women these days, they suffer from that. They leave their kids with the man, and they don't. It's too much for them, So it's all a part of being friends, and it's a difficult. How do you do that? Those first steps, you do it. Just maybe you put a time, and we see each other every couple of weeks, and we worked in a group together during those couple of weeks. And I just, we found that we had mutual friends, and, we could, we started talking a little bit more serious after probably about 6 months of knowing each other, or maybe three months of knowing each other. We decided to get a little bit more, talk a little bit more and get a more serious. So 3 months of friendship, well, that was fine. At least it was a start, because building that friendship, that sincere friendship, is very important. But a lot of times people just rush into things, and they lose that themselves, and they only understand a partner completes them. And, well, didn't you at least complete yourself or meet your own expectations before you went into the relationship? So it can be sometimes a problem when they're just not friends, um, at that first stage of meeting each other. So
Yeah,
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 yeah, that's right. Right. Before committing to another person, you have to fulfill your own expectations first.
yeah. Because a lot of times accountability is you get into things of you finding that the person or your partner, this person that trusts, the trust of it, um, they're not, you found that they may not be accountable for certain things. They're accountable for this. They have really good strengths, but they're not accountable for other stuff. So they have like really higher weakness. They have like some weaknesses with things. And then it's like they went over the boundary line with you. Like, hey, I told her that she couldn't do this because it would affect certain things with my parents. And, she knows about my parents, and she knows how nice my parents and grounded they are. But she really, disrespected my mother. My mother saw her with another man. And, I had been really nice to her all those months and stuff. And so she likes to go out on things. I really thought she was a really cool person, but I guess I should have like made sure she wasn't like dating another person, or she was fully committed. So it's just she went over my personal boundary of and that was a trigger for me. I'm not like an overprotective man. No, I'm not an overprotective woman. You know, the man or the woman, went over, a certain boundary, and it was they crossed the line. It was a trigger. I've been there myself, and you have to make decisions. Like they keep going over the boundaries. They keep, are they, and they're not being certain. Are they doing this to me from other relationships? And, or are they getting it? Are they doing it to me? Are they getting it? Excuse me. Are they getting it from other relationships? Maybe they didn't have success in other relationships, and they thought that they would cross the line with me, or they would see if they, they did this to me. where is this coming from? You've heard a lot of times people cry, men, being in a relationship with a woman, or women, being in a relationship with a man, crying, suffering. They're very hurt. They're in counseling, or they're crying to a friend, their parents. Why? And asking, why did they do this? Why did he do this to me? Why did she do this to me? And then a lot of times couples, they do it to each other, and they're hurting each other, and then people see it, but they exist in that ecosystem of that, and they are okay, I guess. They are not that troubled. And I guess it's, the envy portion. Like if I'm looking at a couple, or I'm looking at, someone, and I know they have problems. Like if I have a neighbor and I'm looking at the neighbor and I'm saying, I know that neighbor, that couple has problems, but because I see them arguing, but they just, and that's maybe the generational curse aspect of it. It's just they work well within their ecosystem, and they really, in that ecosystem may be positive to them. It may be, and it may infuriate others, and that's may trigger, it may, um, the couple, they may, it may trigger other couples. Like if there's a couple that's happily married and then newlyweds, and then, there's, it has a community effect. So in terms of what I'm saying is that when you have couples on another end, that you have couples that one of the people really doesn't want to be hurt, and they just want to try to improve or salvage. And then you have couples that just exist in their crazy ecosystem, or what we may, a newlywed couple may look at it like, boy, that's crazy, you know, and they don't want it to contaminate their union, and that happens like in a lot of religions, like Islamic religions, Mormons, and just Orthodox Jews structure, in even in African communities. The couple is very together, but there are things that, well, that works for them, but it may not work for the newlyweds or this older couple that's been married for about 50 or 60 years. It may. So it's how the trends are, when we have newer trends, and trade winds that come in, and it's just keeping up. And that's why marriages and partnerships either do well or suffer, and people choose to go, they choose to go like head first into a relationship just right then and there, and it may not, they may have been, they said that they were very good friends, but a lot of people say no, well, it may have been, they may have not had enough courtship time, and they just call friendship like courtship bonding, courtship time. So there are a lot of couples who, and that's a lot of things with like divorce counselors, people who are, help with counseling. They look at all types of couples. And I've heard this, and, they have couples that just have crazy types of issues, and they may need to consider divorce, because they have worked together and known each other for quite some time. And they may need to consider that as an improvement. It would improve certain issues if they had children. It would improve certain issues with their parents if they had ailing parents. And then, like, they're only, in divorce counseling or couples counseling, there's some couples that can be saved, and then there's some couples that just can't be saved. And I just couldn't take them as a client because there's so many um, triggers going on that they would probably do better as a family to get a divorce. And it's sad, in couples counseling. In the past, I've run across many years ago, but why it would be just better, more economically appropriate in some cases for couples, some couples, because it's a lessening effect. That couple they're lessening, and they've done a lot. They vacation, they spent wonderful time together, but they're now, they wanted counseling, and I had to decline them because I've maybe given them counseling before, and they weren't able to get over over certain issues. So it wouldn't be successful. I'd rather go with this couple, and because they're more committed to helping themselves get back on track and have a better understanding of what's going on. Like a lot of times, our identities, and maybe you can, expound more on that. Our identities, the couple's identities as a pair together, are shaped by trends and the environment, and just in terms of that, it's shaped on just current trends, current culture as we see here in the world, and it's shaped on that, and they have to keep up with it. And a lot of times they don't even have time to be friends, in that beginning stage, or that courtship friendship stage. We don't have time to do it. So, and maybe you can talk about why certain couples, like in terms of deterioration, briefly, you can talk about that, in terms of why you think, because my understanding, it's just trends. It's like what we're going through, like, just current popular culture is why maybe it deteriorates, and they can't maybe keep up with it as well as they.
Okay. In terms of a couple's identity, what you have to know is that identity sets you apart from others, right? Yeah, and it gives you uniqueness. It gives you some sort of uniqueness, and find that in a relationship that there's that shaky stability rooted from personal issues. You find that they tend to copy trends, just as you've said, to copy trends or to adopt certain trends that will make them feel more grounded in their relationship. And one thing that gives you identity is the ability to make decisions as a person and as a couple. And decision making, okay, in terms of power dynamics, there are certain relationships where you find that one has the upper hand in decision making, while the other just lays off. And the imbalance in this may cause a lot of fault in self-esteem and in the other person's identity. So in power dynamics, what couples have to know is that they have to take up decisions. They have to take up responsibilities as one, right? They have to balance it. Yeah, and with that, you find that they are able to grow together. I grow my individual self, you grow your individual self, and with that we grow as a couple. Yeah, and that's what makes a healthy relationship.
And that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, you grow yourself, and they give the time to do that. Like um, couples who like to work out together, or one person, well, I like to go running. I like to go running or jogging in the park, and then the other may like to go, you know, what they call cycling or spinning, but they like to do
Right.
a sport in the gym, but they spend that time apart growing themselves. They like the thing that's mutual is they like fitness, and they, are okay. That's okay. And they spend time, one spends time on running, and then one spends time, and that's outdoor running, whereas opposed to the other one who spends more time, um, in a gym, in an indoor gym. But they, mutually bond that way. They learn to work together, and they grow together outside of the relationship. And they probably have more to speak about, talk about, and laugh about, you know, because of that, because they both like some type of fitness or nutrition, and they may, shop for certain things, certain items at stores that help with their vitality, their longevity, their health, and that helps them come together. But one person may like this store as opposed to, I'm going to go to this store, and I'm going to, you know, go to my mother's house, because my mother said she had some stuff, in the yard that would be, that she's growing in the yard, and the mother-in-law has something, so they often just kind of, but they spend time away, but they still mutually, you know, come together for some type of
Yeah.
better efficiency in their relationship, their marriage, and that's fair, and that's fair. And
Yeah.
it helps with they're aware, their self-awareness. They're aware that, well, I don't do the indoor thing, but my wife does, And sometimes I go with her, but I like to run outdoors. And sometimes she likes to run outdoors, but she's keeping up with the trends. She's in a spinning class, or she goes to a dance class, and I support her with that, but I do running. And sometimes she comes running with me. So they learn to um, perhaps effectively balance their um, relationship that way, and that's fair, like I said.
Yes, yes, yes. And some of the tips maybe people should take up are journaling. Journaling is a very effective way of getting to know who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get to put down raw thoughts, raw feelings, everything. You put them down, and with that, you get to clear your mind and get a deeper understanding of your thoughts and feelings. And at times, you should take up things that you love. Yeah, those are the things that build you. They build your strengths. Yeah, they reinforce your abilities and all. Yeah, so take up things that you love. And lastly, support each other. As couples, support each other. Yeah, mutual support.
Yeah,
I
support
think
is
that's yeah,
important,
it's
so important.
thing and that one can give in a relationship.
Yeah, support is a very because it's so difficult. A lot of times, the couple just really has each other. They just were able to get money to, get married or just live together, and their in-laws or their uh, kin relations or family, they don't support them because it's a new relationship, and they are challenging them because they feel maybe they're young and they don't know anything about having a relationship. So it's so important. It's so important for them to learn how to support each other.
Yeah.
Because you'll have outsiders that don't, for whatever reason they don't support it, or you have, I mean, it's just, or you have people who respect that respect it, the relationship. But yeah, support is a very key thing. And the journaling is very helpful. It's useful at any for any. It's journaling is helpful for young adults, and it may be helpful for young adults in terms of issues with abstinence, just staying abstinence, people in young adults in high school. And it's helpful for, people out, after high school and as you go on into life. So yeah, journaling is a very um, key area for growth. And just having some type of respect, uh, just every day, doing something every week, doing something nice for your mate, understanding their weaknesses and how you can better accommodate them. Understand if it's a issue with extended family, like they have children from another relationship, understanding, at least trying to support and understand the children, the stepchildren, trying to do that. It can be very difficult in some cases, but that is a very, very good way extending themselves to the stepchildren, um, and understanding, them, because they are hurt, in some way in the process. They've been hurt, they've been challenged, and just understanding certain issues of past offenses. How can we make that better and just move on to some productivity and successful growth? With journaling, it's an issue in terms of it helps with our genuine feelings, and it helps get that phony quality out. Journaling is important for that purpose also. So it helps to get to our genuine best selves, as you so stated, that raw essence, raw energy, raw essence of ourselves. And so if you don't have any other or do you have any other last thoughts about our self-awareness and how how again a couple can improve themselves, how they do you have any last thoughts on that? Or the esteem, self-awareness and self-esteem, and how they can improve themselves in a caring
Okay.
relationship?
I would like to end with one part, and it's about empathetic understanding. Yeah. This is something that should be adopted within a relationship. And by empathetic understanding, I mean, you get to put yourself in your partner's shoes. Yeah. You get to understand how they feel. You get to know who they are, aside from the relationship itself. And with empathetic understanding, it it's a way of tapping into the soul of the other person. And with this, you get to um you get to build these harmonious relations together. And this is something that will push you. It will push your relationship, and you will go further with it.
Right, that's good. Just having empathy, empathetic understanding. That's very important because that's something that we spend so much time in our workplaces, working a job, and we get it there. You get empathetic understanding. So practicing that in a relationship to help it improve is helpful. Very good. And one thing I want to say is, in terms of before we close out this really good, wonderful discussion, and you brought up so many great key um, understandings, key ideas about our self-esteem and identities, and um, where that all improves, and the problems in terms of that. You so wonderfully did that. One thing that would like to just address is that bad friendships or unapproved socialization outside of a relationship can be it can deteriorate. And so, like if one person has that bad friendships, and the other one is striving for more positive growth, that has to be better determined. It has to be unapproved, especially unapproved socialization, unapproved friendships. Um, One partner really doesn't like the other partner's decisions in terms of who they hang around with, and it really deteriorates things. And that's one thing that I'm hoping that people will kind of understand, because it's always an issue with couples. I don't like who he hangs with, I don't like who she hangs with, but the other partner still supports him. And like support, like we were saying, and caring, caring, support and caring are very important guides, the natural caring process in any relationship. So it's not that the other partner is trying to control you, but there may be things with the bad socialization, bad friendships that other partner has, that it may be deteriorate, it may not be suitable. So that's one thing that I think currently a lot of couples are challenged with. One person goes out with some people that are not real great. So hopefully those things, trends right now, and um, the way the dynamics play in terms of just our basic spiritual structure, hopefully that'll improve for couples, and their balance will get better with time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, in terms of this, Maryhope and I, Kanika, um, are have presented and really committed to uh, the self-awareness, and uh, the idea of self-awareness, and idea of uh, building couples, their esteem, and just getting them to understand their identity better. And we hope that you, the viewer, have learned something from our discussion today. Thank you so much, Maryhope, for
Thank you.
bringing this topic to awareness. And I really enjoyed discussing these key ideas. And we hope that you all will have a wonderful understanding and more committed understanding and caring of yourselves, by yourselves, with someone else, or even if it's just your children. I hope that things will bring about a change. Thank you so much, Mary Hope. And thank you. And thank you. Have a wonderful evening, day, and or wonderful understanding, as we say. Have a wonderful understanding. Thank you.
Thank you as well.